Witness the dramatic transformation of Leonard Brown, owner of Electronics Haven, as a routine day spirals into a life-changing confrontation with his own prejudices. This powerful story reveals how a single encounter can lead to profound self-reflection and the urgent call for societal change. You won't want to miss this eye-opening journey that challenges perceptions and highlights the importance of understanding. The chime above the entrance sounded as the proprietor of a local electronics shop flipped the sign from closed to open. He drew a deep breath, relishing the mixed sense of fresh electronics and cleaning supplies that filled Electronics Haven. Sunlight streamed through the newly cleaned windows, casting a gleam on rows of sleek smartphones and polished laptop screens. He ran a hand over his thinning hair, adjusting his polo shirt. Emblazoned with the store's emblem at 58, he carried himself with the assuredness of a man who had forged his enterprise from the ground up. His blue eyes surveyed the aisles, a wave of pride swelling within him. Another day, another dollar, he murmured, stepping behind the counter to initiate the cash register system. As he keyed in his password, his thoughts drifted to the previous evening's dinner with Bill, a longtime companion. Their exchange replayed in his mind. "You've got to be cautious these days, Lynn," Bill had cautioned, leaning in close. "Those types, they're becoming more brazen. Saw on the news how a group ransacked a Best Buy 2 towns over." He had nodded, his fork pausing midair. "Tell me about it. Just last week, I spotted one of them attempting to pocket a smartwatch. Can you believe the nerve?" Now, as the day's initial patrons began to filter in, his defenses were up. He greeted Mrs. Henderson, a frequent customer who had shopped there since his opening 2 decades prior, with a congenial smile. "Good morning, Helen. How's that new tablet working out for you?" "Oh, just wonderfully, Leonard." Mrs. Henderson beamed. "You were right about how simple it is to video call the grandkids." He chuckled, basking in the satisfaction of a contented client. This was what he lived for. Assisting good, honest people in discovering the ideal gadget to enrich their existence. The morning progressed smoothly. He helped a young couple select their first smart TV, patiently detailing the distinctions between OLED and QLED. He rang up a business executive purchasing a new laptop bag, engaging in lighthearted discussion about the local high school's football squad. It was just after 11 o'clock a.m. when the bell chimed once more. He looked up, his welcoming smile faltering slightly. Young black man entered the establishment. The newcomer was tall and robust, clad in dark denim and a fitted gray t-shirt. His tightly coiled black hair was closely cropped, and his deep brown eyes held an intensity that unsettled him. His hand tightened on the edge of the counter. He watched as the man, mid to late 20s by his estimation, began to survey the aisles. The stranger's stride was confident, his movements deliberate as he examined various devices. "Can I assist you in finding anything?" he called out, his tone curt. The young man looked up, flashing a disarming smile. "Just browsing for now, thanks. You've certainly got quite the selection here." He gave a brief nod, his gaze never leaving the stranger. As he moved towards the high-end smartphone display, a knot formed in his stomach. He'd witnessed this before. Young hoodlums casing the premises, feigning interest before absconding with armfuls of goods. "Do let me know if you require any assistance," he stated, forcing a smile that didn't reach his eyes. As the minutes passed, he found himself gravitating closer to the young man. He feigned straightening already immaculate displays, all the while keeping the stranger in his peripheral vision. The man picked up an iPhone, turning it over in his hands with obvious interest. His pulse quickened. He recalled the smartwatch incident from the prior week, how that other young man had attempted to pocket it when he thought he wasn't looking. "That's our newest model," he interjected sidely. "Stranger just received them last week." The young man nodded, meeting his gaze. "It's impressive. The camera quality on these just keeps improving." He grunted in agreement, momentarily taken aback by the man's informed remark. Still, he couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss. The way the stranger's eyes darted around the store, taking in every detail, it had to be more than casual interest. "We've got some excellent cases for those too," he added, gesturing to a nearby display. "Might want to consider one if you're planning on buying it." The young man raised an eyebrow at his slip, but his expression remained neutral. "I'll keep that in mind, thanks." As the stranger moved on to examine a row of tablets, he retreated behind the counter. He occupied himself with paperwork, but his attention never strayed from the young man browsing his store. A middle-aged woman approached the counter, a wireless speaker in hand. He rang up her purchase, exchanging pleasantries about the unseasonably warm weather. All the while he kept one eye on the stranger, who was now examining a high-end gaming laptop. The woman left, the bell chiming her departure. His fingers drummed against the countertop, an internal conflict raging within him. Part of him wanted to extend the young man the benefit of the doubt. After all, he hadn't actually done anything wrong. But a louder voice, one that sounded suspiciously like his father's, whispered warnings of danger. And deceit, his mind drifted to his boyhood, to hushed conversations overheard at family barbecues. His uncle's gruff voice: "You can't trust them, Lenny. They'll smile to your face and rob you blind the second you turn your back." He shook his head, attempting to banish the memory. Times had changed, he reminded himself, But as he watched the young man pick up another expensive gadget, Doubt nodded at him. The stranger approached the counter, a sleek smartwatch in hand. "Excuse me, do you have this in black?" His throat tightened. "I'll have to check the back," he managed. As he turned to head to the storeroom, a flash of movement caught his eye. Did the young man's hand just slip into his pocket, heart pounding? He paused at the storeroom door. He looked back, studying the stranger's relaxed posture, the innocent expression on his face. Doubt warred with suspicion in his mind in that moment. He made a decision that would alter everything. He reached for the phone, fingers trembling slightly. As he dialed Riverbend Police Department, a crisp voice answered. "How may I assist you?" He took a deep breath, his eyes never leaving the young man browsing his store. "Yes, this is Leonard Brown from Brown's Electronics Haven. I'd like to report a shoplifter." His palm grew clammy against the phone. As he whispered into the receiver, "I've got a suspicious character in my store. I'm pretty sure he's about to steal something." The dispatcher's voice crackled through the line. "Can you describe the individual, sir?" His eyes darted to the young black man still examining the smartwatch display. "He's a black male, mid to late 20s, about 6 feet, gray t-shirt, dark jeans. He's been hanging around the expensive items for a while now." "Has he actually taken anything, Mr. Brown?" He hesitated. "Well, no, not yet, but I saw him slip something into his pocket earlier. I'm sure he's up to no good." "All right, sir. We'll send a unit your way to check it out. In the meantime, don't engage with the individual. Just keep an eye on him and call us back if you see him actually steal anything." "Thank you," he mumbled, hanging up the phone. His heart raced as he stepped back onto the sales floor, forcing what he hoped was a neutral expression. The young man looked up, flashing that disarming smile again. "Any luck with the black version?" He blinked, momentarily confused, before remembering the smartwatch. "Oh, sorry, looks like we're out of stock on those. I can order one for you if you'd like." "That's all right," the man replied. "I'll think about it, and maybe come back later." He nodded, stiffly watching as the stranger moved on to examine a row of high-end cameras. Every movement, every glance sent his suspicion into overdrive. He was certain now that he saw something disappear into the man's pocket earlier. But what and how could he prove it? The minutes crawled by like hours. He found himself straightening the same display for the third time, his eyes never leaving the young man for more than a few seconds. He jumped at every chime of the bell, expecting to see police officers, but it was just the usual flow of customers. Mrs. Grayson picking up a new power cord, teenagers browsing the latest gaming accessories. He helped them mechanically, one ear always tuned to the movements of the suspicious stranger. He nearly dropped Mrs. Grayson's change when he saw the young man pick up a top-off-the-line smartphone, turning it over in his hands with obvious interest. "Careful with that." He couldn't help but call out, his voice sharper than intended. "It's not a toy." The man looked up, surprise flickering across his features. "Of course," he said smoothly. "I was just admiring the build quality. You don't often see this level of craftsmanship anymore." He grunted noncommittally, unnerved by the stranger's knowledge. It didn't fit with the image in his head, the one of a common thug looking to make a quick score. He pushed the doubt aside. "It's probably just a trick," he told himself, a way to lower his guard. As if on cue, the bell above the door chimed. His head snapped up, relief flooding through him as he spotted two police officers entering the store. Officer Jenkins, a stocky man with a bushy mustache, nodded in his direction. His partner, a young woman he didn't recognize, scanned the store with sharp eyes. He hurried over, lowering his voice. "Thanks for coming. He's over by the smartphone's gray shirt, jeans. I'm telling you, he's been casing the place for at least half an hour." Officer Jenkins furrowed his brow. "Has he actually taken anything, Mr. Brown?" He hesitated. "Well, I'm not entirely sure, but I saw him pocket something earlier, and he's been hanging around all the expensive stuff, asking way too many questions. I know trouble when I see it." The female officer, her name tag reading Ramirez, exchanged a glance with her partner. "All right, Mr. Brown, we'll talk to him, but you should know that browsing isn't a crime. If he hasn't actually stolen anything, just talk to him," he insisted. "You'll see what I mean." The officers nodded and made their way towards the young man, who was still examining the smartphone display. He watched, a mix of vindication and anxiety churning in his gut as Officer Jenkins cleared his throat. "Excuse me, sir, could we have a word with you?" The young man looked up, surprise evident on his face. "Of course, officers. Is something wrong? We've had a report of suspicious activity in the store." Officer Ramirez explained. "Would you mind stepping over here with us?" Moment he watched, a mix of vindication and anxiety churning in his gut. As the officers led the young man to a quiet corner of the store, he strained to hear their conversation, but could only catch snippets. "Just browsing, I swear. Empty your pockets, please. Some kind of mistake." The minutes stretched on, feeling like hours. He helped a customer absently, his attention fixed on the ongoing conversation across the store. Why was it taking so long? Surely they'd caught him red-handed by now. Finally, Officer Jenkins approached the counter, his expression unreadable. "Mr. Brown, could we speak with you privately for a moment?" He nodded, leading the officer to his small office in the back of the store. His palms were sweaty, doubt beginning to creep in around the edges of his certainty. "Mr. Brown," Officer Jenkins began, his tone serious, "I need to inform you that we're aware of an ongoing sting operation in town targeting businesses suspected of discriminatory practices." He blinked, confusion washing over him. "Discriminatory? I don't understand." "I called you about a shoplifter, Officer." Jenkins sighed. "The young man you reported, he's not a shoplifter, Mr. Brown. He's an undercover inspector from the Federal Anti-Discrimination Compliance Agency. FACCA. The words hit him like a physical blow. He stumbled back, groping for the edge of his desk. That's impossible. I saw him pocket something. We searched him thoroughly, Mr. Brown. He had nothing on him that wasn't his. His mind reeled, struggling to process this information. But why would they send someone to my store? I don't discriminate. Officer Jenkins gave him a long, measured look. That's not for me to say, Mr. Brown, but I think you need to take a hard look at why you were so quick to assume this young man was a criminal. Now, if you'll come with me, there's someone who'd like to speak with you. Feeling as though the floor had dropped out from under him, he followed Officer Jenkins back onto the sales floor. The young man, the inspector, was waiting, his expression a mixture of disappointment and resolve. Mr. Brown, he said, extending his hand. My name is Marcus Jackson. I think we need to have a conversation about what happened here today. He stared at the outstretched hand, his world tilting on its axis, as the reality of his actions began to sink in. One thought echoed through his mind. What have I done? The fluorescent lights of Electronics Haven seemed to hum louder than usual as he faced Marcus Jackson. The handshake lingered between them, a chasm of misunderstanding and prejudice made tangible. Officer Jenkins cleared his throat. Mr. Brown, as I mentioned, Mr. Jackson here is an undercover inspector with the Federal Anti-Discrimination Compliance Agency. He's been conducting evaluations of local businesses to ensure they're adhering to anti-discrimination laws. His hand trembled as he finally accepted Marcus's handshake. The younger man's grip was firm. Professional. I don't understand. He stammered. Why my store? I've never. Marcus's expression remained neutral, but his eyes were sharp. Mr. Brown, our agency received multiple complaints about discriminatory practices in this establishment. My visit today was to assess the validity of those claims. The words hit him like a physical blow. He stumbled back, groping for the edge of the counter. Complaints? But I treat everyone fairly. Officer Ramirez stepped forward, her voice gentle but firm. Mr. Brown, perhaps we should continue this conversation somewhere more private. Your office, maybe? He nodded numbly, leading the small group to his cluttered back office. Posters of the latest gadgets competed for wall space. With years of sales awards, he sank into his chair behind the desk, suddenly feeling every one of his 58 years. Marcus took a seat across from him, while the officers remained standing. The silence stretched heavy with unspoken accusations. Mr. Brown, Marcus began, his tone neutral. I'd like to walk you through my experience in your store today, if that's all right. He nodded, unable to find his voice. From the moment I entered, I was aware of your heightened attention. While that could be attributed to good customer service, your body language and tone suggested suspicion rather than welcome. You followed me around the store, watching my every move. When I asked questions about products, your responses were curt and dismissive. Marcus leaned forward, his gaze intense. But the most damning action, Mr. Brown, was your decision to call the police based solely on my presence in your store. I had done nothing to warrant such a response. I was simply a customer browsing your merchandise. His mind raced, searching for justification. But I thought I saw you pocket something. Marcus shook his head. I assure you, Mr. Brown, I took nothing. The officers have already searched me thoroughly. What you saw was a projection of your own biases and fears. The words landed like a punch to his gut. He opened his mouth to protest, but no sound came out. Officer Jenkins stepped forward. Mr. Brown, I've known you for years. You're a fixture in this community, but I have to ask, would you have reacted the same way if Mr. Jackson had been white? The question hung in the air, heavy with implication. His mind flashed to earlier that morning. The easy banter with Mrs. Henderson, the patient explanations to the young couple buying a TV. He compared those interactions to his treatment of Marcus, and shame washed over him. I don't know, he whispered, the admission costing him dearly. Marcus nodded, a flicker of empathy crossing his features. That's an important first step, Mr. Brown. Recognizing our biases is crucial to overcoming them. He looked up, meeting Marcus's gaze. What happens now? Am I going to lose my business? Marcus pulled out a small notebook. That depends on several factors. This incident will be thoroughly documented and investigated. The FACCA will review your store's policies, practices, and any past complaints. There will likely be fines, and you'll be required to undergo anti-discrimination training. He slumped in his chair, the weight of his actions pressing down on him. I didn't think. That's often the problem, Mr. Brown. Marcus said, his tone softening slightly. We don't always recognize our own biases, but intent doesn't negate impact. Your actions today made me feel unwelcome and criminalized in a place of business. Officer Ramirez stepped forward. Mr. Brown, I'd like to add that false police reports are a serious matter. While we understand the context now, using law enforcement as a tool of discrimination is unacceptable. He nodded, unable to meet anyone's eyes. The enormity of his mistake was beginning to sink in, bringing with it a wave of shame and regret. Marcus continued, his voice steady. Moving forward, Mr. Brown, you'll need to take concrete steps to address the issues in your business practices. This includes revising your customer service policies, implementing diversity training for your staff, and actively working to create a welcoming environment for all customers. He looked up, a spark of defiance flickering in his eyes. But this is just one misunderstanding. Surely you can see that Marcus shook his head, his expression firm. Mr. Brown, the complaints we received suggest this isn't an isolated incident. Your reaction today only confirmed the validity of those concerns. The fight drained out of him. He slumped further in his chair, feeling old and out of touch. I don't know how to fix this, he admitted. Quietly, that's what the training is for, Marcus explained. It's not about punishment, Mr. Brown, it's about education and growth, about recognizing harmful patterns and learning to do better, officer. Jenkins cleared his throat. Leonard, I've known you for a long time. You're not a bad person, but good people can still hold harmful biases. This is a chance to confront those biases and make real changes. He nodded slowly, his mind spinning. He thought of his grandfather, of the values he was raised with. He thought of the changing world around him, of the diverse faces he saw in Riverbend every day. For the first time, he truly considered how his actions might have affected others over the years. I want to do better, he said finally, his voice barely above a whisper. I don't want to be that person anymore. Marcus nodded, a glimmer of approval in his eyes. That's a good start, Mr. Brown. Acknowledging the problem is the first step towards solving it. He stood, straightening his jacket. You'll be receiving official documentation from FACCA within the next few days outlining the next steps and any penalties. I strongly advise you to comply fully with all requirements. He rose shakily to his feet. I'm sorry, Mr. Jackson, for everything. Marcus paused at the door, turning back to face him. Apologies are important, Mr. Brown, but actions speak louder than words. I hope to see real change the next time I visit Brown's Electronics Haven. With that, Marcus exited the office. The officers followed, leaving him alone with his thoughts. He sank back into his chair, the events of the day replaying in his mind. The bell above the store's front door chimed, signaling Marcus's departure. He buried his face in his hands, the gravity of his actions finally hitting him full force. He'd built this business from the ground up, priding himself on being a pillar of the community. Now, with a single misguided action, he jeopardized everything outside. Life in Riverbend continued. Customers came and went, oblivious to the seismic shift that had occurred within the walls of Electronics Haven. But for him, nothing would ever be quite the same again. Marcus stood by the window of his temporary apartment in Riverbend, gazing at the quaint main street below. The aftermath of the investigation into Electronics Haven unfolded like a slow-motion car crash. He watched as fewer and fewer customers trickled into the once bustling store. His phone buzzed, a text from his supervisor at FACCA. Great work on the Brown case. The fines have been issued. Marcus's jaw tightened. Justice served. But at what cost? He thought of his shocked face when the truth was revealed. The memory brought no satisfaction, only a complex tangle of emotions. A knock at the door snapped him out of his brooding. It was Carl, his liaison at the local police department. Thought you might want to see this, Carl said, handing Marcus a folded newspaper. The headline screamed, "Local business owner fined for racial discrimination." Marcus skimmed the article, his stomach churning. The facts were there, cold and damning. His prejudice was laid bare for all to see. It's all over social media too, Carl added. People are calling for a boycott. Marcus nodded, his expression grim. It needed to come out, but this isn't going to be pretty. Carl hesitated. You did the right thing, Marcus. Brown's been getting away with this crap for years. I know, Marcus said, but the words felt hollow. He'd done his job, exposed the truth, so why did victory taste so bitter? He sat alone in his darkened living room, illuminated only by the harsh glow of his laptop screen. He scrolled through comment after vicious comment on the local news site's Facebook page. Racist scum, never shopping there again. How long has this been going on? Each word was a dagger, piercing the carefully constructed image he'd built over decades. He slammed the laptop shut, but the accusations echoed in his mind. His phone rang. It was his daughter, Sarah. Dad, are you okay? I just saw the news. His throat constricted. I'm fine, sweetheart. It's not as bad as it looks. The lie tasted sour on his tongue. Sarah's silence spoke volumes. Did she said finally, her voice strained. Tell me you didn't really do those things. He closed his eyes, shame washing over him. I don't know what to say, Sarah. Oh, Dad. The disappointment in her voice cut deeper than any angry comment online. After he hung up, he poured himself a drink with trembling hands. The amber liquid did nothing to numb the pain of his crumbling world. The next morning, he forced himself to open the store. The silence was deafening. No cheerful greetings from regular customers, no excited chatter about the latest gadgets, just oppressive, accusatory silence. His lone employee for the day, Jenny, gave him a nervous glance. Mr. Brown, the sensitivity training instructor, is here. He nodded, his stomach clenching. He followed Jenny to the back room, where a middle-aged black woman waited, her expression neutral but her eyes sharp and assessing. Mr. Brown, she said, extending her hand, I'm Dr. Amelia Foster. I'll be conducting your mandated training sessions. He shook her hand, fighting the urge to look away. Let's just get this over with. Dr. Foster's eyebrow raised slightly. Mr. Brown, this isn't a punishment to be endured. It's an opportunity for growth and understanding. He scoffed. What's to understand? I've been branded a racist. My business is ruined. What more do you people want? The words hung in the air, heavy and loaded. Dr. Foster didn't flinch. And there, she said calmly, is exactly where we need to start. Hours later, his head spun. Dr. Foster had led him through exercises, shown him statistics, shared personal stories. It was Overwhelming, challenging, everything he thought he knew. This is just the beginning, Mr. Brown, Dr. Foster said as she packed up. Real change takes time and effort. Are you willing to put in the work? He hesitated. Part of him wanted to rage against the unfairness of it all, but a small voice one he'd ignored for too long whispered that maybe, just maybe, he'd been wrong. I'll try, he said finally. Dr. Foster nodded. That's all anyone can ask. See you next week. As she left, he noticed Jenny hovering nearby. Jenny, did you need something? The young woman fidgeted. Mr. Brown, I was wondering if we could talk about making the store more welcoming for everyone. He blinked, surprised. You have ideas? Jenny nodded eagerly. A few, if you're open to hearing them. For the first time in days, he felt a flicker of hope. I'm listening. Weeks passed. He threw himself into the changes, desperate to save his business and salvage his reputation. New policies were implemented, staff underwent training, and he forced himself to confront his own biases daily. It wasn't easy. Old habits die hard, and there were moments when he wanted to give up, but slowly, painfully, he started to see the world through new eyes. One quiet afternoon, the bell above the door chimed. He looked up to see a familiar face. Marcus. Mr. Jackson, he said stiffly. What can I do for you? Marcus approached the counter, his expression unreadable. Just wanted to see how things were going. Heard you've been making some changes. He nodded, trying to maintain composure. It's been eye-opening. Change isn't easy, Marcus said, but it's necessary. They regarded each other for a long moment, the weight of their shared history hanging between them. I was wrong, he said finally, the words feeling foreign on his tongue. About a lot of things I'm trying to do. Marcus nodded slowly. That's all any of us can do, Mr. Brown. Keep trying, keep learning. As Marcus turned to leave, he called out, Mr. Jackson. Marcus paused. Thank you, he said quietly, for making me see. A ghost of a smile crossed Marcus's face. Make it count, Mr. Brown. That's all the thanks I need. As the door closed behind Marcus, he took a deep breath. The road ahead was long and uncertain, but for the first time in weeks, he felt ready to face it. Outside, Marcus walked down the street, his steps lighter than they'd been since this whole ordeal began. He couldn't undo the past, couldn't erase the hurt his actions caused, but maybe, just maybe, some good could come from all of this. His phone buzzed. Another case, another town that needed his attention. Marcus squared his shoulders, ready for whatever came next. The work was never done, but each small victory, each mind opened, was a step toward the world he dreamed of building. As he drove out of Riverbend, Marcus glanced in his rearview mirror. Electronics Haven stood as a reminder of the challenges faced and the changes still to come. It wasn't a perfect ending, but it was a start, and sometimes that was enough.